Hey, my friends, Randy, your host of Building Wins Live, and we are back for my favorite time of the week. You know how much I love selling. You know how much I love traveling. I've been doing the old school road warrior all week, and yesterday I got in, if you recall, just in time, like under 15 minutes before showtime, to do a special edition. Back today with a really fun guest. We were just talking off air, and Jackie and I had a chance to talk on Wednesday, I think it was of this week. I was riding down the road 82 mile an hour, and the cops listening. It was only 42, but anyway, it was a great conversation. And Jackie is right up the alley of what I love about building wins and building sales and doing it the right way. So I hope you enjoy this great conversation we're going to have in about 7 seconds. So don't go away. Here we are, Jackie.
Well, hello. How are you?
I could not be better. I could not be better. Well, I may be a little better in about an hour and a half when I'm sitting at a little waterside pub with some friends, but hey, but until then, I'm pretty darn good. And you?
There you go. Doing perfect. Can't
Good.
complain.
Good. Well,
No
thanks
one
for
wants to
jumping
listen
on.
anyway, so it doesn't make a difference.
I figured out a long time ago that there really is nobody, including my dog, who I no longer have, that cared what I thought. So and he loved me more than anybody. So there you go. So it was all downhill from there, right? So
That's true.
But well, thanks for jumping on, though. It's really looking forward to this conversation. So before we get started, let's get the Jackie Joy story. Who in the world is Jackie Joy?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I have been so many people in my lifetime wrapped into one, but most of the time it's surrounded by sales and family. I am a mom first and foremost. I have 3 kids. They're all grown and a granddaughter. So they are the apple of my eye.
Yep.
And then after that, I have 2 passions, and it's sales and psychology. So I enjoy bringing trust, authenticity, and credibility back into sales. When I started many years ago, it was all about Dale Carnegie.
Right.
And we've lost it somewhere along the line. And now people are being taught, as I call it, smoke and mirrors type of training, trying to convince people to want something that they don't even need. So that's how I was in the insurance space for 9 years. And my sales team, I wanted them something better for them, to be able to communicate, because communication with the customer is a lost art. Because if you think about communication, ever since we were little, back in kindergarten, we were all taught that someone speaks to us and we only speak back when someone asks us to speak. And then when you get these people into a sales situation, there's no back and forth conversation because they haven't been taught that. So I started in with selling from the heart about 1.5 years ago, when I was looking for a better mousetrap for my sales team. So, and selling from the heart with Larry Levine, when I read this book, it was everything I was looking for. Because, there's so many people, well, I don't have enough leads. I don't have this. I don't have that. Well, they don't really have to go much further than the mirror.
Right.
Because if they're not getting the leads that they need, they just have to look in the mirror because they're not doing something right.
Right.
And Larry hits upon that on his book. So when I read it, I reached out to him going, okay, I know you wrote this book for me. Well, he's in California. I was in Florida at the time. I don't think he knew who I was. So I just have enjoyed sales. I've been in all types of sales, from radio sales. I used to sell spots on the radio. I enjoyed that a lot. I've been in retail sales. I've been in tobacco sales. I've done a lot of things. So that's a little bit about me.
That's so I've got to give a shout out. I know he's pounding away doing whatever he does in Annapolis or wherever he's at, but a mutual friend of ours, George Henderson, I did a quote earlier today, I did a post about you coming up later, and he, I don't know if you saw it or not, but he said I said something about you being first class, and he said we need to develop another class for you. So I think we're,
Aw, I
yeah,
love George.
yeah, George is
He's
a
one of
good
my
buddy.
faves.
Yeah, he and I are such good pals, and it's it's funny. We was talking off air about uh, how things have changed over the last 2 or 3 years, and how so much virtual is involved. And George and I, he's one of my favorite people, and but yet we've never sat down together. We've never met personally,
Isn't that
but
crazy?
it is. But if I met George right now, he walked in, I would I'd hang my mic up and jump in his arms with a big hug, right?
Yeah,
Because he's just a bud, and it would be like we were like had hung out for 30 years, right? And
absolutely.
but anyways, and that's one of the beauties about, and that just took me on a segue I'm thinking about here, but it's interesting how things have changed. And you and I have both been in sales forever. We've established. I use a moniker or a mantra or of 4+ decades, which is
Mhm.
accurate. Only reason I use 4+ decades is because I technically could say a little more than that, but then that makes me sound really old. So, but it's right at the 50-year mark, and but things changed a lot over the last couple of years, especially. And I really like what you said about the old school way of selling. That's the way I learned. You built relationships. You sold people what they needed, not what you just wanted to sell them.
Absolutely.
And you built the wins, right? The win-win or the win-win-win or however many wins it happens to be. And I liked what you said. I don't like that that's where we have become, but I like what you said about we've lost a lot of that. So uh, maybe let's talk about that a little bit more. Where
So
have we come?
one of the things that I would train my agents, and of course, it's not always so well received by higher ups, but I would surround myself with some of my competitors that I would trust.
Hmm.
If I knew that the product would be better served with my competitor, I would bridge the introduction. And I would have so many people give me pushback going, but you're giving away your commission. And I said, am I? Because it might have been that one person I might have given away, but who do you think that one person is going to refer over and over again?
Right.
Not the person that signed them up, the person that put them in a better spot.
Right.
And I would get referrals after referrals after referrals because I cared as much about their needs, what they need to accomplish, than the commission that was going in my pocket. It will always come. Income is the outcome, not the objective.
Love that. Love that. Because and that I think about what you just said, Jackie, and I used to know reps because I'm an independent rep. We rep manufacturers, as you and I talked about the other day, and I know a lot of guys that I'd run across through the years that, like a customer open house or whatever, that they need you there, they give you their business. They said, but why do you get an airplane and you do all that effort? Because they're not that big an account right now, but they're giving me everything they can give me,
Mhm.
right? And they may be or they may not be bigger, but I know, and what you just hit on is vitally important. I think is you can't just look at, okay, well, this guy, and if I do my commission calculation, I'm going to make X dollars on him. Do I go do what I'm supposed to do or I don't? Should have nothing to do with it. Is it the right thing to do? Which it is. Then you just go do the right thing. And I think that I loved what you said about that.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's all about building trust.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people don't know this that are in sales, but people that are in sales, according to the Gartner study, are the least trusted people. Only 3% of people trust those in sales. That is a super sad statistic
Mm-hmm.
because no matter what industry you're in, you are in sales.
Right.
You're either selling a product, you're selling yourself, you're selling something. If you're in a relationship, you're either
Right.
selling or being sold to. I have people go, oh, I've never been in sales. I said, if you were this high begging your parents for an ice cream cone at Dairy Queen, you were selling.
Exactly.
So, and it's so important to bring all of that trust and honesty and caring more about how you're going to serve the other person than focusing on yourself. I ran across a great quote today by Stephen R. Covey is contrary to what most people believe, trust is not some soft, elusive quality that you will either have or you don't. Rather, trust is pragmatic, it's tangible, it's an actionable asset that you can create.
Hmm.
And
That's
that is
spot on.
so prevalent. Like nurses are the most trusted profession out there. Why? Because they sit and listen to the client. They have a conversation of where being in that present moment where that client is today. And they make their client, they serve with empathy.
Right.
That's what we should be doing in the sales profession.
Do you see that improving with people like Larry's book and your involvement with Larry? Obviously, it's needed out there. Is that do you see us making a turn back for that?
I do, because yes, Larry has a book. They have a podcast. If you haven't listened to the podcast, it's awesome. That's how I first got introduced to the guys, and I'm like, you know what? These guys are bringing in value. They're bringing in like-minded, even other authors and trainers. And people go, but they're your competition. No, we're creating a movement. Does it sound fluffy, selling from the heart? Some people thinks it sounds fluffy. If you actually read the book, it's kind of in your face, kind of like, hey, this is how you should be treating your fellow man if you're trying to sell them something. How you should be behaving if you're in the sales arena. So it's kind of, I do see it expanding. We have a movement going on. It's not just a book or training or coaching. We have an actual movement and a community of like-hearted souls, and that is due to grow larger and larger. Yeah. Will there be people that it doesn't resonate to? No, that we will. Not everyone will jump on board, but I think we're going to make a big dent and bring it back to the way it was when Dale Carnegie was around.
Right. Right.
Because it was an honorable profession at one point. And now you tell people that you're in sales, they look at you like you have COVID.
Yeah. It's pretty sad when you might say I'm a congressman or a senator. They would actually have a little more trust in you, right? And that's a sad state of affairs. But
politicians are lower than salespeople, by the way. Just saying.
Oh, are they? Well, good, because I thought for a minute I was below a politician. By 1%. Okay. Well, okay, it's still a win. It's still a win. Hey, Kirsten, glad you made it finally. Getting some wins, I see. That's a good thing. Kirsten she's a sales pro, and I've known her for years. And since she's on there, I'm gonna say this again. She's way younger than I am, but then again, most people are. But she was my first bartender in a small little town I grew up with, a best buddy of mine. So we go back a long, long ways in this industry. So Kirsten's a real deal. So thanks for coming.
Hey, Kirsten.
She's read Larry's book at least once, maybe twice. I think she should have read it twice by now. But big fan of the show, and a great lady. So how hard? Why is it? Do you think? Because I just was thinking, I was just talking. For me, when I first learned sales, and I took the Dale Carnegie courses and did all those things too, a million years ago, it seemed to click with me that sitting at the coffee table, back in the day, I was selling a lot of stuff in the agricultural world, out on the farm with mom and pops and having a cup of coffee and a piece of cake, and the kids are running around, and you really actually build a relationship, right? And it was a good time. And you, as a sales guy, said, I want to do what's right for these people, because I know these people, even if it's only been for the last 45 minutes, but they're a nice little family. I want to make sure I do what's right for them. Is it the drive for the buck, which is important? I mean, we all, at the end of the day, kind of like to make some money. But where did we go off course for so many years, do you think, to losing some of that? Do you have a theory?
Some of the more recent trainings really kind of dangle those carrots of, oh, you can have the jets, you can have all the trips, you can have, well, you can have that being a trustworthy, authentic person too, but it's just not your focal point.
Right.
You get along further when you do what's best for others than you do what's best for just yourself. Will they both end in the same result? Yes. But one, I can assure you, you're going to feel more satisfied with than the other. The other one is like, oh, yeah, I got the fancy car. Okay, now what else?
Yeah.
Now, just picture yourself out into talking with someone and they explain to you how your product or service really impacted their world. What feels better, the shiny car in the driveway or that you touch the heart and put that soul in a better place than you found them? What's going to last longer? What feeling is going to last longer?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, that is the beauty of the old way of selling. And I'm just so happy that we're making as an industry, because I've always been proud to be a sales guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't like it when we're barely above the politician, right? That's not, I don't necessarily need to be at the nurse level, but I would rather be a little above the politician. No, nothing intended against any politicians out there, because there's probably some good ones, but
Hmm.
maybe. But anyway, that is a sad state of affairs. So let's talk about, I know you work a lot with accelerating growth, but yet still doing it, authentic. Any outside, of course, reading Larry's book, but outside of that, give us the high points of what can a person do right now that's either new in sales and just doesn't know,
Mm-hmm.
or you could be new, you could have been in sales for 25, 30 years and still don't know if you came in the wrong time, or learned the wrong way, right? What can the average person in sales now that's listening to this, reads Larry's book, listen to you guys and your different things that you guys do all over the country, and say, I think I want to be better.
Right.
But what is that?
What is better? So, gosh, you can just do one little thing to become better. The first and foremost that I think is your mindset. And there's so many people that they're afraid to pick up the phone, even to call a customer. But why is that? So, what I've done with some of my agents is the first thing I have them do, brand new agent into sales, I'd have them pick up the phone and call one of their buddies or friends that they love to talk to. And then take that and keep that in your mind and going, okay, now pretend that next customer is a friend you haven't met yet. So then the fear dissipates. So you don't have that looming like a ton of bricks over your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps with just having that kind of conversation. Then the conversation, I said, because if you have a product that you love, say you created it and you knew that this product was going to change the world, wouldn't you want to tell everybody about it?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of salespeople are selling really great products that can change the world. But what's stopping them is their mindset to pick up that phone. So if they do what little tricks like that of, hey, I'm talking to a friend I haven't met yet, or you know what, I can change this. How many lives can I change today by this product? Then it helps with all of the fear that go behind that. That makes sense?
It does. It does. And I just making a couple notes here. Fear, I think, is a big. I mean, fear gets in the way of us in all kinds of things in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think about, and you said a point earlier, which I love, was you talk about we're all in sales, right? And I love what you just said. When I've had little meetings with folks, and I say, so I can get an idea here, who's in sales? What are the rest of you guys? Oh, we drive forklift, we do this. No, no, no. You're all in sales, right? You're all in sales. But and I said, because if you all have a significant other like you hit on, you didn't get that significant other without selling yourself over somebody else, right?
That's right.
You won that sale, right? And but fear gets in the way of a lot of things because I think sometimes we're afraid to do what that extra step or two because of that fear of rejection, right? But and maybe circle back to that if you will or want to. But the other thing I made a note to myself is we've all heard if you've been in any sales course ever in history, we've always talked about the assumptive close, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a bit of an assumptive closer if I guess. I'm more of a relationship guy, but I believe that I believe I have the best product and I'm the best person to do business with. If this makes sense for you. So I'm assuming that probably when we get done with this whole thing, we're going to do business together, right? I think that's probably what we're going to do. But going beyond that is building that relationship, and that's where I really wanted to go with this. But building that relationship and that friendship with the customer. Um, I'm assuming when I call somebody, I'm probably my wife will look at me if she runs my office and if we're around together, she goes, "I thought that was a new customer you was calling." It was. You never talked to him before? No, because it's automatic the second I pick the phone up. We are buds,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are pals. I might back that off a little if they seem to be the ones that don't want a lot of that at the start, right? You might have to work your way
Yep.
back in, but it is so. I think again, I'm long-winded on this, but uh, that assumptive friendship, right? That we're going to have a relationship here, uh, may get rid of some of that fear. Maybe, do you think, or no?
I think so, assuming that relationship, I do. Closing, that's another whole topic that we could
Mm,
spend another hour on
right.
because I don't believe in closing. Closing is just part of the process.
Exactly.
You're building the relationship at the front end. I do what's called micro closes.
Hmm.
And it's just really checking in. Hey, you have an option from this to this. I know we haven't gone through the rest of the presentation, but what resonates with you so far? Where are you feeling? How are you feeling? So you're always checking in with them throughout. And then by the end, it's like they'll go, what's the next step?
Right.
Okay. So to me, it's all of those little having that conversation all the way through your presentation. With and that's how another way you build relationships
Right.
is like when I was in the health insurance space years ago when I was face to face and I still do it when you're on Zoom is before I'd even take out any of my stuff, I'm like, let's talk about what your needs are. What do you feel about insurance? What did you like about your last policy? What didn't you like about your last policy? And have that kind of conversation because no one else is doing it.
Right.
So then by the end, they feel like you are part of the family because you are watching out for their best interests. And you're building that solid core foundation along the way that the only time that they jump off your books is if something's happened in their world, like they got another job and they get benefits with it or whatever. So it's so vitally important to build relationships. And I think sometimes people get a little bit confused when we talk about building relationships. It's not like you're going to be, and it can go this way. I have one of my customers for years. We, like you said about George, never met. We text all the time, little things that have nothing to do with the product that I sold.
Hmm.
And you can build a relationship to that point. But a lot of times it's just letting your client know that you're there.
Hmm.
If they had a question, answer it. I've seen too many agents that go, it completely ignore that the customer has called, text, emailed, done anything to, and I'm like, why aren't you? Well, I don't know what they want. They could be complaining, or they could be wanting to give you a referral.
Right.
And just it's all about just asking them, how would you like me to continue this relationship? We've signed the contract. Do you want me to reach out to you once a month, once every 3 months, quarterly? They'll tell you how to treat them.
Right.
And that's what building a relationship is all about. Most of them you won't be BFFs with, but if you follow up, follow through, take care of them, you have now built a relationship with them.
Exactly. Exactly. And that keeps you, it just, that makes life, because it's as we talked earlier, it's more than just the job, more than just the money, right?
Mhm.
It's life. It's right. It's intertwined with each other. And if you can build that, it's so much more fun when you're doing business. At least some of your clients, and the more the better, but are part of your life, not just a number, right? Not just an
Absolutely.
order. Yeah,
And then when you answer the phone when they call, it's like I had one lady, this was when I was still in the insurance space. She called me up. She goes, "I don't know if you remember who I am." I said, "Of course I do." And of course, I'm not going to use her real name. "Of course I do, Susie. Last time we talked, this happened, this happened. You're going through this, you're going through that. What else is going on?" She was so taken back. She goes, "I cannot believe you remember all that."
Yeah,
And that made her feel so important.
exactly, exactly. I love your micro closes idea, because that that is a the old way of selling, right? Of you just kind of do these 12 steps, right? That in 10 steps, and everybody teaches all these different steps, right? And and those, I think, are important, especially when you're new and young, maybe to learn, because you don't know maybe how to go through the steps.
Mhm.
But if you just present your product, and you, like you said, and I love that, is ask the questions along the way, find out the pressure points early if there's an issue or a problem, and address it before you get to the very end. You're right. It's so many times you don't have to ask. There's no closing at the end, right? Because they're just saying, well, I think I'd like to move forward. What do I do here? You need a check, credit. What do we do, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's a whole, it because the other way can be very adversarial, right? And then you both leave with, you leave as a salesman, maybe with, or a salesperson, with a win, the
Mhm.
sale, but it couldn't have been the kind of win that you wanted, which is the repeat business and referrals, because you left it with the customer going, I almost just bought this so they get out of my house, because I
Right.
just I felt the pressure, right? That I guess my point of all that is that high pressure thing, even in some of the areas that I see and have a little, or know about a little bit, uh, with that super high pressure, hammer the person's face into the table until they buy. Uh, I don't. Not only do I personally not believe that works very often, but you may get the sale, and they may not go into rescission if it's one of those deals where it's in home, right, where you got 3 day right to rescission. But uh, I know a guy that was in that a lot in the past, and he would always know when a salesman was putting too much pressure, because his cancellation rate was massively high, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the ones that didn't do that, they hardly ever had a cancellation, because they handled all the objections that would cause the customer to cancel, or they didn't even sign the order, right? If we're not, I don't think we're ready today, right? And that's not a wrong answer sometimes, right? I don't know that either of us are ready to do this deal today. That's not, that goes against the grain with some,
Mhm.
but if you're looking for a lifetime relationship and a lifetime deal, yeah, that's probably not a bad deal. Hey, by the way, Kirsten says you're the best. I just
Thank you.
unbelievable.
One of the things that, I was going to say, I've got to get my older brain just went out of out of joint for a minute. Um, I forgot it. There it was, gone. But one I'll bring to another point. In Larry's book, and I had done it prior to reading Larry's book, which is another thing that I think gravitated me towards it, is there's a lot of salespeople that are not trained. It's like, here's your script, go be great, or go act like someone else
Hmm.
because they're a superstar. Well, that they're set up for failure because you can't be someone that you're not.
Right.
So I implore you, go back to your customers. When I was new in the insurance space, and I got to tell you, I knew nothing about insurance when I started it, like nothing. My customers today don't believe that because I made myself an advisor. I learned everything about my space. But the reason I did that, I didn't have good leaders that were in it to really help train. So I'm like, okay, what's my better step? So I went back to my customers a couple days after the sale, going, if whether I sold them or not. So if you're big on ego, this is going to be hard for you. If you really want to learn and you're passionate about learning in your space, go back to that customer and say, if you didn't get the deal, your opinion is extremely important to me.
Right.
Where did I lose you? What part of my presentation doesn't work for you? And that's how I got better. My customers helped me create my presentation so I would do better for the next person. And when I read that Larry did that too, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're like kindred souls.
Yep.
We're actually so much in tune with each other. I kind of feel like I wrote the book myself, but I didn't. I was not in the copier space. But the funny thing is, when I worked in a school district, I was the go-to person that always fixed the copier. So I always used to joke that I'm going to end up in the copier channel. Well, I didn't, but kind of feel like I did now that I talk to Larry all the time because he was.
Right. Exactly. Awesome. Well, this is some great stuff, and I love hearing people that that chat about this way of substantiating the way I think, and I'm not one that's going to bring on somebody on the show that just 100% agrees with me, because that never is good either, right? I'm always open to other ideas, but this has been very enlightening. It's very good. As we sort of wind down, because we've blown through 32 minutes already, what's the parting words? Because everybody wants to leave this. Okay, you ready for this? Everybody wants to leave this joyful, huh? How you like that, right? Anyway, my wife's gonna watch this later and go, Randy, don't just don't do that. You need to write yourself a script. Quit doing that. Anyway, let's kind of wrap back to where we were, and at the start, or wherever you want to go. But what do we all need to do to start Monday being a better sales pro?
Love yourself. Look in the mirror and appreciate where you're at, who you are, and do that for your customer as well. And it's back to the old saying, treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't do something different than what you would expect back to you. And Wes was nice enough to pull this up on the screen.
Yep.
At Selling from the Heart, we have an insiders group that meets every Friday. You can get Larry's book, a free autographed book from Larry, just by paying shipping and handling. We also have, if you're a sales leader that's listening, we're having our very first sales leaders conference that's coming up October 20th. So called our Breakthrough Sales Retreat. Wes, you are awesome.
He is.
So,
I told you he's the best.
You are the best. I'm loving that. That was really good. So so that's a little bit of parting words. And if you haven't read the book, I mean, I've literally have read it twice. And if you could see my book collection, I have hundreds of books in sales. And that was the first one that I read cover to cover that didn't lose my interest.
Yeah.
So.
It's an outstanding book. Kirsten said she's listened on Audible. I didn't realize it was on Audible too, but twice. I've read it twice now. I very good. Highly recommended to anybody that. And like I said, it's highly recommended to anybody, because piggybacking again on what you said earlier, it's highly recommended for anybody that's in sales, and that means it's everybody, right? You can use this even if you're not, quote, in sales, so to speak. If you're not, you don't have the title of salesperson. It's still going to work for you in a lot of things in life. I mean, it's just a great read. So, um, well, awesome. Well, Jackie, thank you. I appreciate very much you being on. And it was every bit as enlightening as I expected it would be.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite
Of
or
course.
the filling in for Darrell.
Well, I don't even look at it as a filling in. It was a meant to be. It
That's
was.
true. That's
It
true.
was. It was a meant to be. We'll get Darrell on one of these days. We'll reschedule him someday. But great show from what I caught. Well, Kirsten,
Thank you, Kirsten.
watch the replay. Unbelievable.
Connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yes, do that. She will. I guarantee you. She probably already has. As soon as you get off, it's there. I'm going to give her about 13 seconds now of just empty nothing so that she can go ahead and do it real quick so that I set her up for success or failure there, depending. But anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Jackie. Appreciate you, and stay in touch.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
All right. Yeah, you bet. It's all
Bye-bye.
mine. Cheers. All right. Told you Jackie Joy would be, I'm not going to do it again. Yeah, I am. She would be a joy, and she was. I don't know. That was funny to me. Anyway, so that was a pretty inspiring, I think, 30-some minutes of exactly what I should be. If you have not read Selling from the Heart by Larry Levine, you got to get the book. Anyhow you get it, read it, listen to it over and over and over again. It's very, very good. So what are we doing next week? Next week's a one for, not a two for like this week. I do have to work on my rep agency stuff now and then. I can't just stand on here and talk all day, even though that's probably something I could do. Matt Davis. Matt Davis is going to be on next week. Matt is a fellow sales pro. He's been in the building materials and construction world for years. He's also co-host of a very good podcast, Crush It podcast. That was easy for me to say. He's a co-host with a fellow friend of this show, Mason Burchett, who's been on twice now. And they do a great job with that podcast, again, about sales, about life, and it's just awesome. So Matt and I are going to have a great discussion next week. He and I just chatted just prior to the show about next week, and he's excited to be on, and I'm excited to have him. So don't miss us. Be there next week. Share this out. Catch us on replay. And as always, remember, you get one go around. So live it, love it, own it. And remember this, make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, my friends.